Hey, Steven, I'm doing great. Thanks for joining. Hey, thanks for joining. Great to see you, Steven. Still a couple minutes early. I just wanted to get signed in and get my stream going. We're just going to wait for the hosts and everybody else to join, but it is being recorded, and I am streaming on YouTube, so this will be available on YouTube at the end of the day as well. You just do a quick audio check and make sure that my audio is being captured. Yep. Okay, good. Wonderful. Hey, Carlo.
Hey, John, how's it going?
I'm going well, thanks. I've got the YouTube stream up and running. I've got all my stuff ready to
that's
go.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think we're all set. We're just gonna let noon hit. I've got quite a bit to share, and I'm really excited. Thanks for inviting me. This is a lot of fun.
Yeah, thank you for jumping on. Do you happen to have a link to your stream by any chance? And then I can go get that pushed out as well onto the Physical Learning Network community threads.
Yeah,
if you have it. No worries if you don't.
No, I'll grab it right now, and I'll actually share it on my Twitter as well. Let me send a quick tweet. So there's going to be a bit of echo here on the recording, but that's okay. I'm really excited.
All good.
Send a tweet.
Let's see here.
And I put it in the chat room there.
Perfect. Thank you.
And let me send the tweet out here.
And I just want to share this pre-event slide so people are aware. It's just a little placeholder. There you go.
And I'm not sharing my screen yet. Okay, great. Yeah, that's awesome.
Thank you very much for that stream link. Let me go get that posted.
Hey, Charles. Thanks for joining. It's good to see you again. It's been a long time. I'm going to try to keep up with everybody. Hey, Julio, thanks for joining. It's good to see you. I see Charles Unasi's joined. It's nice to see you again, Charles.
Hello, hello.
Hello.
Nice to see you again, John. Hello, everyone. Hi.
Hey, Charles. I hope you're doing well. It's nice to see you again. It's been a long time. I see you're doing lots of great things, though, and sharing lots of stuff on Twitter, so it's nice to have you here. Thanks for joining.
Yeah, likewise. Thank you.
I see Leonard Miller. Hey, Leonard. It's nice to see you. Thanks for joining. Stephen Painter. Hey, Stephen. Hey, everybody. I'll try to say hello. Verlaine's here. Hey, Verlaine. It's nice to see you on here. That's great. I'm a big fan of your determination and enthusiasm and all the DevNet stuff you share. It's really great to see you today. Hey, Oren. How are you? It's nice to see Oren.
Wonderful. Nice to see you as well. See, when John is going for a session, all of a sudden cameras go off or getting turned on.
There's Matt. Hey, Matt, it's nice to see you today. Thanks for setting this up with Carlo. I'm really excited to share this.
Of course. Hello. Good morning, everyone. Hey, Oren.
Hello.
How you doing, John?
You even got Julio to join us.
Yes. I just need to find a way to turn these into NFTs, and Julio would be really excited, right?
Working on it.
We're working on it. That's right. That's right.
And I don't know, it's a little breaking news. If some of you guys are attending Impact at the end of the month, we're going to have some NFTs for Impact.
Very cool. Very cool. I love that you're on the bleeding edge with this stuff. That really excites me. And I see lots of people joining. Hello, welcome everybody. Daniel, thanks for joining, Daniel. It's nice to see you again.
Daniel? Let's see Daniel's face. I miss Daniel already. We'll give him a minute to get on board. We're going full space puns this entire session. So fire up the rockets, fire up the engines, and get ready.
Yeah, I like Verlaine's pun that this is an IT Hubble, not Huddle today.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
So yeah, bring on all your space geekiness today. That's what this is all about. I think with the renewed interest with the James Webb Telescope, space is, it's back in everybody's minds again. And I'm going to show you some fun, neat things hopefully today, and give you some ideas. So I'll let some more people join, and then I'll kind of let you guys do the introduction and stuff. It's just noon now, so I see lots of people joining. Hey Oscar, it's nice to see you. Thanks for joining.
Yeah, it's great to see everybody on.
Yeah, this is great. It's really nice to see everybody, and I really thank you for everybody who's joined from the community, or if you're new, this is it's going to be a fun with APIs. So that's, I really am a real believer that we can have fun while we learn, and learn while we have fun. And what better topic to explore than space? It's remarkable. You're going to see some really neat stuff here today. I hope you're excited. So thank you all, everyone, for joining. Give people a couple more minutes to join, and then I can start sharing my screen. Yeah, just let me know when you want me to start to kick it off, Matt, or if you guys want to do an introduction, or just I'm ready to go, whatever you want.
Yeah, I think maybe we can. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Matt.
Go for it.
All right. I think we can go ahead and get started. It's just a quick, brief introduction to kind of introduce what this thing is about. First off, I want to welcome everyone again, and hello to those new to join. Great. Welcome to our Share IT Solutions Huddle on the Cisco Learning Network, and it's the place to, again, share your best IT solutions. My name is Carlo Wobilis, and today we'll be talking about APIs in mind mapping space with none other than John Capobianco. So John, maybe we'll go ahead and just pass the ball over to you, and then we can kind of go through that.
Sure. So a bit of an introduction, what you're going to see here today. I'm a real believer in using fun APIs to get started with not only working with REST APIs, but working with Python and programming. So if you want to put your hand up, or like if you've never used an API, you can raise your hand. If you've never used Python, raise your hand. And if you think about it, is it because you're intimidated? You think you need to be a full-blown computer programmer to do this stuff? Hopefully we can dispel some of that and show you just how fun and easy this can be. So I'm going to share my screen and hopefully give you a tour of the various APIs. So I'm going to use my browser first. So if you go to open-notify.org, and this is where I believe you can start as a default place. And we'll get to the NASA APIs in a second. But Open APIs from Space has two very good ones. The current location of the International Space Station. And if we go to this URL, the .json, JavaScript object notation, it gives us back the structured data with the longitude and latitude and the timestamp of the current ISS position in space. They also have a peoples in space, and as you can see, it lists all of the human beings in space right now and the spacecraft they're on. Now, these don't require any authentication. They're open and they're ready to go. And just as a side note, some people from the community have used the current location in space to do really neat things. I know of someone who set it up that they get an email if the space station is going to be above their city. And it just emails them, and they just run the code in a cron job, and they get an email notifying them to look up in the sky and find the space station. Someone else has made a Discord bot that does sort of the same thing. In their Discord space channel, you can say, where is the ISS? And it will call the API and provide people the location. I found another one. If anyone speaks French, this is a French lesystemsolaire.net. But the JSON we get back is in English. And you can see they have all of these great APIs in space. And again, these are open APIs. So when we move into NASA, if you go to...
Je connais le site. Je connais le site.
If you go to api.nasa.gov, this is where you can get a key. So you have to put in some credentials and they will email you a key. And they have, we can do 1,000 requests per hour. And then they have all of these APIs, all of these great APIs, which we're going to explore. Now, when I talk about Postman, Postman is a client that is an API development tool. It's mainly used for browsing and reading APIs, but it's a full-featured development kit, and we'll switch to Postman in a second. But right in the browser, they have this Postman NASA Open APIs overview, and you can start using their APIs in Postman in the browser. Or if you go to this document get Postman and this particular URL, you can download. So if we say run in Postman and then Postman for Windows, and I'll switch to Postman in a second, it will bring this whole collection of pre-formed APIs in Postman. Now, what do I do with these? I use a tool called markmap.js.org. Well, first, let me back up. I get the JSON from the API, and then I send it into a tool called Jinja 2, which is a templating language for Python. And then I put it into certain markdown format, and the markmap tool, which works in VS Code as an extension, I can view the markdown as a mind map. So that's the idea here. Can we get the JSON from an API? Can we organize it in a Jinja template? And then can we render mind maps? And I'll show you that. The code is available on my Automate Your Network on GitHub/Jupyter. And this is what we're going to create, our mind maps that look like this, that are interactive, that we can click and zoom. This is the Planets API. There is the people in space. And it explains to go get your API key and how to run this code. Now, I've made it available on PyPy as well. So when you pip install, pip is a Python package manager, you can simply say pip install Jupyter Mind Maps, and then you just run the code and provide it your API key. So we'll do that in a couple of minutes. Now let's take a look at the code. Actually, let's take a look at Postman. I'm going to show you something neat. So this is my Postman client, and I have all of these what are known as collections. And they're collections of APIs. And as you can see, I have the NASA, the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, all of those APIs by installing the Postman collection from that webpage I showed you. And we'll come back to that. I also have one called Space. So let's just look at who is in space. So I take the URL, and this is just like browsing with your browser. We're using HTTP, and we're using a GET to go get that JSON. And if I send this, here is that JSON in a nice, easy to read JSON. And we can see there's 10 people in space, the name of the human, and the spacecraft that they're on. Now, what I love about Postman, and I think it's a direct on-ramp to start working with Python. If I hit reveal in code, or code here, it gives me the Python. So if I just go into Ubuntu or Windows and I type Python 3, now I'm in the Python command line. I can paste that and press enter and take a look. There is the JSON. I could also say print response.json as the function, and we get the JSON back. So that you could save that as a .py file and run it, and it would work right from Postman. Without any knowledge of Python at all, you can get started. It's a direct path to using Python from the REST API. So again, we click the code button, and as you can see, I could do this as a JavaScript or a Node.js or PHP. It has PowerShell, but I want Python requests, and I use the import requests to import that library. And then boom, I have the JSON from the API in Python. Now, if we look at the NASA, what you're going to get is an environment file. And I'm not going to click it because it would show my API key. But if we take a look, I'm going to show you, let's just pick one. The astronomy picture of the day, and here's today. It provides the URL to the API, and it adds the date for today. And then it uses a variable API key. Now, if I change my environment here to the NASA environment and hit send, I get today's image of the day from that API with a link to, the image. So there's today's space image right from Postman in the API. So what we can use is environment variables and variables to pass in the key that I get back from NASA. Now, if I were to reveal in code, it would probably show my key, so I'm not going to do that. But again, it would give you the Python code that you could run in Python. So that's kind of the introduction. Now, in the bigger picture, most of us are probably related to the networking community or network engineering, or we're network engineers or operators. It's a very small step. The only thing I need to change is the URL, and I could point to Cisco NX API, ICE's APIs, DNA Center's APIs, RESTconf APIs on switches. You get the idea. Any of the dozens and dozens of Cisco APIs, the key is that we're working with an HTTP GET and we're getting JSON payload back. Now, what I love about this approach is that it's safe. I'm doing a GET, which is read only. I cannot damage my system. I'm not changing anything. It's like a show command at the CLI. I'm just reading data back. So it's a wonderful place to start with network automation, is using APIs and the GET requests to get back our structured JSON. Now let's take a look at the code I've written. Now don't be intimidated. Most of this is copied from Postman, but I'm importing the request library, and I'm using a tool called Click that helps me make a command line Python app that you can run, and we'll do that in a second. And then I'm using Jinja 2 to template this code. So if we take a look here, I have a class, a Python class, that initializes and takes in the token that we provided. So we ask the user for their token, and then everything else is done automatically. I call individual functions from my main function so that it's nice and modular and object-oriented. So here is the Python version with the Jinja template. So what I'm doing is saying the template for the ISS location is this ISS Jinja 2 file. My location, so everything on the left side of the equals is a variable. So go ahead and get the JSON from this URL and stuff it into this variable. So then I print a little status code to make sure that I get a 200 back. Now a 200 means my request was good. And if it's a 400, it means it's a problem on my side. If it's a 500, it's a problem on the server's side. And there's different numbers. But we're looking for a 200, meaning it was successful. So then now that I have this variable that holds the JSON, all I need to do is call the Jinja2 dot render, and I pass in that JSON into a variable called location. Now this render and location is available inside of my Jinja2 template. So let's quickly look at the Jinja2 template for ISS. And to make a mind map, how Markdown works is I can have up to 6 levels of header. Just like in Word, how you can have header 1, header 2, header 3, etc. Well, each pound symbol or hashtag is a level in my Markdown. So then I pass it in location dot timestamp, location dot ISS position dot latitude. And when I run this code, Jinja2 renders. It's a templating engine. So these variables get substituted with the actual JSON values, and I get my mind map file. Now, if we look at something, just to show you one a little more complex, here is the weather on Mars. And as you can see, my URL has the self.token in the string. Now that token is passed from the user at runtime, and then it passes in the code. So if we look at the weather on Mars, right, I make a deeper nested markdown file with all of the values. So just to show you the bottom of this file, how I use click is to make my, my Python a little easier. It's a nice package that lets me say the click command, the option that the user passes in is going to be --token. We can even set it up as an environment variable. So if we say export token equals and then the NASA token, the user never even needs to type in their token. I define CLI, pardon me, and CLI invokes the class passing the token and then runs that first Jupyter Mind Maps code. So if it's main from Python, it's the main executable, call the CLI, and CLI then passes it off to the class and the function. So if we go up here, this main function calls each subsequent function. So it's all object-oriented, it's all nicely contained, where if I need to work with asteroids, NEO, it won't break my other functions. Now each function has their own Jinja 2 template to make the markdown, the mind maps. So let's try to run this, and I'm going to switch over to my Ubuntu, and what we're going to do is I recommend you make a virtual environment. So in Python, you can make a virtual environment that is self-contained, and it protects all of your other virtual environments, and it, sorry, Matt, was that for me? Is it too small?
It's okay. If you're able to zoom in a touch, that'd be great. But also for the attendees, right above where the video is playing, you should have a zoom in capability. That's a little tip I've learned recently as my eyes have gotten bad. You should be able to zoom in yourself just a bit if you need to.
I don't know if my magnifier actually works on my screen share. Is it magnified now or not? I don't know.
No.
No. Okay. I'm sorry. Okay.
So,
well,
it's okay. I think the attendees, they zoom in.
Okay, good. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to say Python 3-m venv and then the name. So invoke the virtual environment package, and we'll call this solution Hubble. And that'll take a second to create the virtual environment. And then we use the source and the name of our environment, bin activate. Now what you'll notice is in front of my command line, it indicates that I'm inside of this virtual environment. So what we're going to do is pip install Jupyter Mind Maps, and that will pull it down, as well as all of the required libraries, like Jinja 2 was installed, Request was installed, Click was installed. So now what's neat is I can say Jupyter Mind Maps, and tab does complete that. And I can do -- help. So I've provided a help function where you say usage, Jupyter Mind Maps, and then the options. And the option is the token. So let me quickly grab my token from Postman, and I can regenerate my token so that it's not available out in the wild. But I'll show you the environments, and I go to the NASA environment, and that is where I paste in my NASA token. So I can run this a few ways. I can say Jupyter Mind Map -- token, and then paste in my token. I can say export token in capitals and paste in my token. Or let's just run it interactively. So if I say Jupyter Mind Maps enter, it's going to ask me for my token. Now I'm going to right click to paste in my token. And as you can see, I hide that from the user. So we can do that for password fields. It's a click option to say, hide input true. And I press enter. So now you can see it's crawling through all of the various APIs. I'm getting status code 200 back for each of them. And it's Jinja templating the mind map files, which we're going to explore in just a second. So it's all done. So what I can do is, I made a mistake. Let me do something else. I didn't make a mistake. They're in my root folder. What I should do is make a directory, and we'll call this, space output, and go into space output. And then let's just run that again. So again, we just run the Jupyter mind maps. We paste in our token. The reason when I did it in root, it put all those files in the root directory of my Ubuntu, whereas I should have made a directory. That's just me being excited, getting a little bit ahead of myself. But we'll see these mind maps in just a second. So what I do is I make a mind map per API, and then I have a Jinja template that combines all of them in one called space. So we can do whatever we want. It's a template and it's JSON. So now I'm going to type code period, which will launch VS Code inside of that folder. And here are all of my mind map files. So let's look at the ISS. So this will actually render as Markdown. It's valid Markdown. So I can look at it as Markdown, or I can use the little pitchfork here, open as a mark map, and there is the location of the space station and the timestamp. Now, if I look at people, let's look at people in space. We can see that the International Space Station has all of these people in it right now in space. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Something is a little broken here, but that's okay. I'll have to come back to that and fix it. There should be people on the Senju spacecraft as well. So there's a little bit of a flaw in that code. I'll have to fix that. But if we keep going, what we can do is, like, some of these are pretty scary. There is, where is it? The asteroids. Near Earth objects. So if you want to have trouble sleeping at night, you can look at the near Earth objects. And for each date that an object comes near Earth, we have all of the details. So let me say, and there's 60 of them, 60 near Earth objects. Now, if we go back to the, potentially hazardous. So let's look for hazardous here.
I just want to say, John, as the father of teenagers, I'm not sure I need this segment, but well, anyways.
The good news, Matt, is that none of these are potentially hazardous in this data set. They all say false. I have seen some say true, and you get a little nervous. What do you mean there's potentially hazardous to life on Earth? So then what's neat is each of these levels is collapsible, right? So the date approach, and we expand that, and we can see the relative velocity and the miss distance. So how close? This was 295 million miles away, something like that, but it's still pretty close in terms of space. How big it is, so the size, and we have the maximum diameter and the minimum diameter, and all of this great information. And these are actual hyperlinks. So if I click on that, it will take me to the database's information for that object. So in mind maps or mark maps, we can make HTML links. So if we go to, say, the photo of the day and render it as the mind map, now this is pretty big because of the text, but these links, we can see the high definition version of today's photo from space. So it really is bringing space into Python and REST APIs. And we have, let's just say the planets. If I go to planets and look at the mind map, it's pretty big, but we can have, there's Jupiter's information, there's Neptune's information, and let's look at Mars. So Mars has the name, its major axis, the mass, the volume, the radius, the density and gravity, and then moons. So we can actually go to the detail for the moon Phobos, and that will give us the JSON for that moon, right? So it's just incredible stuff working with space. Now for the NASA APIs, you just need a key that you register yourself, and there's a bunch of open APIs. So I wanted to leave some time for questions and thoughts and comments. I know I've taken about 20 minutes here. I'm about 5 minutes over, but I'm opening the floor. Does anyone have any thoughts, ideas? Is this exciting? Does this seem easy enough that you could do it, or maybe even your children could do it, or relatives, nieces and nephews. It really is pretty easy to do. We find the API, we work with it in Postman, we reveal the code, we copy the code from Postman, save it as a .py file, and then you can run the code in Python.
Awesome, John. Thank you. I want to set up a WebEx bot of the photos of the day. That would be pretty nice. Little treat each day.
Yeah, it's just an easy webhook or bot call or whatever out to the space, and then you post it into WebEx. Yeah, that's a really great idea. I'd love to hear what anybody else thinks. Does anybody have any comments or questions?
Yeah, hi John. Yeah, I do. First of all, it was an amazing session. Thank you. And when you copied the code from Postman into like as if it saves as a .py file, that was where you like used the Ginger template library, right?
Yes, so the Postman won't come with the Jinja 2, but the Jinja, fortunately, it's only 3 or 4 extra lines of code. And if you look at my repository, this code is open source. You can easily look at it. You need to import the Jinja, create your path to your J2 template file, and then you invoke the .render. And then when we save the file, what we're saving is the variable from the rendered output. So you're going to have an equal sign, and on the left is a variable that holds the templated output, and on the right is the actual render command. So then when we invoke the save, the with open in Python to save the file, what we're actually saving is that rendered output variable. Good question, Charles. That's good.
Thanks, John. Thank you.
And I've placed a link to the... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I just wanted to mention that these mind maps, by the way, it doesn't have to be templated output. I've seen Verlaine, who's on the call. He's using mind maps for his study notes. You could turn the blueprint of a Cisco exam into a mind map, and then you just keep adding your notes or your links or your references. It's funny, if you look at my README files for these projects, I write them as mind map friendly markdown. So you can actually look at my README file as a mind map to get going. Maybe I should share that to show you what I mean by that. So if I go back to my main code, where did it go? Jupyter code. What I'll show you what I mean is my README file is actually, you see how I put the little headers in? So now if I render that as a mind map, there is the README file, and you can see there's the setup. There's what you need to set it up. And it renders the console output. That's why this is white like this. The help, use it passing it a key, running it interactively, using an environment variable, and that is my README file. So any markdown that's valid markdown can be rendered as a mind map. SVG files. Yeah, so that's a good point, actually, Angel. So Angel brought up SVG files, which is another file type. I've started with the mind maps, but I could easily, very easily, make comma-separated values, a spreadsheet. So the spreadsheet of near-Earth objects. I could make HTML pages, data table pages. I could make SVGs. I could make network graphs. I could even turn this into MP3 files with Google Text-to-Speech and have it read the information to you. It's really up to your imagination. Does anyone else? Yeah, go ahead, Matt. Sorry.
You have me thinking about a project. You have me thinking about a project with the Dev Associate exam topics and learning resources as a mind map file.
That would be incredible. I was thinking about the you sort of had it as a mind map, the knowledge board at Cisco Live with all of the various certification tracks, right? And you could start with CCNA and then have a footer of CCNP, and just keep going down the links. And then the nice thing is, like I've done some for the OSI model, the 7 layers of the OSI model with links to spanning tree protocol under layer 2, links to to Wikipedias or knowledge base articles or whatever. It really is. It's up to your imagination, Matt. That's a really good idea.
Map the concentration exams and etc. that go along with each certification.
Yeah, and then if you combine it with the power of Git, so put this into a Git repo, because they're plain text files, Git will track the differentials. So if you're working on study notes, if you're working on visualizing API calls, you put them in a Git repo, and let's say near Earth objects goes from 60 to 100. The Git differential will show you the difference. We've added 40 more near Earth objects compared to your last Git commit, right? So it really works well with Git ops or Git operations. So I just want to remind everyone that it's a universal language. It's like learning how to speak a language like English or something. If you can do this with space APIs, you can absolutely do it with Cisco network APIs or different APIs. I've done the APIC for ACI. I've done Firepower Threat Defense. I've done Identity Services Engine. I've done RESTComp from Catalyst 9300s, NX API, on and on and on. WebEx, Meraki. All of these wonderful things have rich APIs. So start with something fun. And then you can Kanye West. Yeah, you can. There's just an incredible. I've done baseball. I've done the Met Museum. You name it. There's probably an API out there for your interest. NCAA football I just did over the weekend with a crew of people who were interested in that data. So you can mix your professional life and your personal fun life. You're having fun, you're generating something interesting, and you're getting that muscle memory on how to work with REST APIs. That's what I'm really excited about.
And then the natural translation to the day-to-day, like you said, network administration job role, pulling inventory, etc.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, I wanted to thank everyone for their time and for joining and spending this time with us today, this half an hour, and Matt and Carlo for putting this together. I hope you had some excitement. I hope this was fun. I hope your next step is to maybe make some API calls on your own or install Postman or try some Python on your own. I'm really humbled for you spending your time with me today. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, John. And I've placed the links to the GitHub page along where you can continue the conversation on the Cisco Learning Network, as well as register for future sessions and review past sessions. All that is in the chat. Matt, did you want to say anything else before we start to wrap up?
Just thank you, of course. Thank you as always, John. Oren, it's nice to see you. Daniel, I saw you for a minute. Verlaine, our adopted son, Verlaine, doing fantastic work, growing in the DevNet world. So keep it going, Verlaine. John, thank you for the inspiration. A lot of great feedback in the chat.
Yeah, I guess I owe Daniel and maybe a few other people an apology. Sorry to wreck your plans for tonight. I know that you're going to scrap everything that you had planned and start working with APIs, but that's awesome. I'm really excited. And again, the repository is on GitHub. So if you find an API that I haven't done yet, maybe you want to fix that International Space Station of mine, I accept pull requests. This is a 30-minute promotion for me to get pull requests into my code. But I do accept pull requests. You can clone my repo. You can fork my repo. If you find APIs I haven't done and want to contribute to the code, if you want to talk to me on Twitter, if you just want to get a hold of me on WebEx, I'm really here and open to try to help you succeed with this. I think, the REST API has been sort of in the future for a long time in network engineers' minds. It's been around for about 20 years now in the software development world. I don't think it's the future anymore. I think it's the present. Network automation, REST APIs, we can change the way we do our day-to-day lives with automation and with these tools that you've seen today. So I think you should try to embrace this sooner than later, because it could have a real big impact on your career.
Very, very true. Thank you, John.
Thanks, everyone. Stay safe.
Thank you, John.
Until next time. Bye, everyone.
Nice to see you.
Thank you.